Another day, another topic. I'm Mixed Martial Mike. That's Joey KO. Woo woo. And that's
Yo,
Hector
we eat sleep
Hammerhead.
boxing over here.
Oh, nice shirt. And then we got Hammerhead Heck.
What up, what up?
Oh,
What up,
that's
man?
the tiburón haircut right there. Es el tite de tiburón.
So,
Why?
speaking of the Matatán and the Tiburón, Edgar Berlanga just signed a 2-fight deal with Top Rank Promotions. And the first fight, I'm reading it right now, is October 9th in Las Vegas against Marcelo Coceres. And if you want to know the type of resume this gentleman has, his record is 30-2 with 16 knockouts, and he's been knocked out one time in his career. And he's ranked number 1 in Argentina, coming out of Argentina. He is ranked 38th in the world in the division. So it's a great step-up fight. And his biggest notable opponent was Billy Joe Saunders less than 2 years ago. So this is a great step up for Berlanga. He's pretty much showing us that he's ready to step up. And maybe the December fight, the second fight, and we'll get into that later, maybe they're setting that up against, Gabriel Rosado, and that will be exciting. But anyway, let's talk about this first one. How do you feel about it, Joe?
Right.
So the December fight is going to be pretty big because it's going to be in the undercard of a big fight. I mean, the internet, everybody keeps talking about Gabe Rosado. That's the fight that everybody keeps talking about Berlanga, because Rosado, as we know, is a great gatekeeper in the
but
division.
let's leave that for later. Talk about Marcelo, and how do you feel about this step up? How big of a step up is it in your eyes?
Well, it's a big step up, but at the same time, it's not a huge step up because Berlanga has been fighting decent opponents. He has been fighting guys with winning records. He didn't fight guys that had more losses than wins in his entire career. He's been knocking these guys out in the first round, so it's very impressive. The fact that he's not fighting tomato cans and he's still knocking them out. The last guy to hold the record fought a bunch of tomato cans. That's why he was able to get like almost 20 knockouts in the first round in a row. He didn't amount to much. He was just a puncher. Berlanga is a skilled boxer, so I think this fight right here, he should win. He is supposed to win, but he is fighting a big, strong guy at 160 pounds. So is it 168 pounds, isn't he?
Yeah,
Super middleweight.
68 pounds. Yeah.
Super middleweight. So he's actually, in line to potentially fight Canelo Alvarez. So
He challenged
these
him.
two fights,
Challenged him like a
these
year
two
ago.
fights, yeah. So these two fights could set up something huge. So if he does fight a Gabe Rosado, I think that would be a big enough fight, depending how he looks. After this one, of course, his big step up. Then he steps up again with Gabe. It could set up a huge fight with Canelo.
And what about you, Heck? What you feeling about this?
Berlanga's got the momentum. He's on 17 win fighting streak, and out of all of those fights, only one went by decision. All his fights are KOs, and just the one decision. So he's got the momentum. So this is definitely a setup to a big fight with somebody like Canelo. Because I know he called out Canelo, I think a year ago. He basically said he wants to give himself a 2-year run to fight Canelo Alvarez.
That is a wonderful goal, and it would be a wonderful situation to see a Puerto Rican fighter, an undefeated Puerto Rican phenom fighting Canelo, who's obviously the creme de la creme in current time. He is the cash cow. He is the fighter to aim towards.
Canelo's gonna fight Plant, right? And Plant is a dangerous opponent. He's a big, skilled boxer. I think he's more dangerous than Billy Joe Saunders. But what if he loses?
That don't got nothing to do with Berlanga. Hold up.
Listen,
yes,
it does.
Don't got nothing
It does,
to do with
because I
Berlanga.
think
It doesn't.
it does, because if you really think about it, if Canelo loses that fight, I think that and actually Berlanga wins his next 2 fights, I think it still would make sense if they step him up with Canelo Alvarez.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
Nobody wants to see a fight coming up with Canelo coming off of a loss. We want to see that fight like
No,
I
that's
just
not
described.
true. You know that no matter what fight happens after Canelo lost, if it does happen, you never know.
I'm not expecting Canelo Alvarez to lose. Go ahead, Heck. You have
No,
anything to
I
add?
don't either, but you just never know. It's possible. Just never know.
No, I mean, coming back to Berlanga, Berlanga is basically a boxer's boxer. He's not one to just dance around the ring all night. He'll give you some action.
Berlanga can box. He just hasn't been able to show it because most of his fights ended in the first round. But
Right.
Well, that's kind of, he's got the Mike Tyson curse.
It's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Jorge Taron in our interview, he says he knows a lot of people in Berlanga's camp, and he said that they've explained and described he has a lot of boxing skills, but he can't and hasn't been able to really show it because he's knocking fools out. He has a lot of power too. If we're talking about him fighting Canelo, even him fighting Gabriel Rosado, in order for him to get past Rosado, he has to, 1, have durability, 2, have the ability to move on his feet, 3, have the ability to counter a strong puncher like Rosado and a confident fighter at this point in time. I mean, he's gonna come straight ahead at Rosado. How is Rosado gonna react? He just knocked somebody out with a counter right hand. He can very much do that to a fighter who's overestimating his own ability against a guy who's very capable in Rosado. So,
and to add to that, I want to add to that because the guy that Rosado knocked out, I can't really pronounce his name because his name is fucking difficult, but he was basically an undefeated knockout artist. Very similar style. I mean, different story, but he basically had the bully style where he was actually trying to bully Rosado, and he dropped Rosado in the first round. And then Gabe came back and got the knockout. So it's interesting that he's going to end up fighting a destroyer, someone who pushes forward, who gets knockouts and is undefeated. It'll be interesting if that is what they're cooking up. We don't know if Gabe Rosado is going to be on the menu. They might not do that fast, but I think it all depends on how impressive he looks against his step-up fight that's next. And if he can knock him out early, I figure like within the first 4 rounds, they're going to want to set up something big because obviously the opponents that they've been given is not enough. He's beating these guys too easy, so they're going to have to step him up. And Gabe, I think, is the perfect step-up fight.
Berlanga is a future headliner, man. He's got the momentum. He's on a roll. He's the future.
He's what, 24 years old?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a young kid. He's the future.
I'm going to show you guys the tell of the tape right here. The tell of the tape.
Mike,
Berlanga is the dinosaur.
Can you get your brother some help? Mike.
And Gabe,
get your brother some help.
Listen.
I'm going to have to.
Yo,
Gabe is a pterodactyl. And Gabe is just gonna go pow.
All right, guys, I'm gonna check y'all later.
I don't know what the hell they got to do with boxing.
It's dinosaur.
You know, come on. When you're an Ultimate Fight fan like Joey KO, everything is a part of the fight game. Even if it has nothing to do with it, it has everything to do with it.
Oh God, baby.
Shut the fuck up. Berlanga is showing us just by his celebrity fucking status that even without fighting the opponents that warrants that type of fame, he's already getting a lot of mainstream appeal. So imagine when you connect him to bigger names like Gabriel Rosado, and now this guy who's 32-1. That's a very credible opponent, and we got to give this kid credit. He has conviction. You know why? Because he's not running straight to Rosado. He understands the pressure that Twitter is putting on him. He understands what the social media world is putting on him, and the boxing fans. They want him to fight the best. Look, Joey KO wants him to fight Canelo already. And he needs to realize that he can't go too fast. He needs to slow down. So this is actually a perfect step up. And I'm very much looking forward to it.
Step up for a setup.
And if he doesn't look good, they might be able to set him up with Jake Paul. And he can still make a lot of money. Knock out Jake Paul, because we all want to see Jake Paul get laid out.
Well, actually, that would be a Puerto Rican versus Puerto Rican matchup, so I'll definitely support that. Feel me?
What? Jake Paul, because he's living in Puerto Rico? He's
Puerto Rican
now? Fuck that.
He's Puerto Rican. He's jacking that.
Puerto Rican resident. That makes him Puerto Rican.
He's more Puerto Rican than you? Where you living at?
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, y'all.